The battle for the world #1 spot in tennis is heating up after Novak Djokovic withdrew from his quarterfinal match at Roland Garros due to a knee injury, which allowed Jannik Sinner to rise to the top of the men's rankings. But with Sinner's recent Cincinnati victory and the shocking news of a failed drug test, the situation has become even more complicated. As tennis fans wonder how Sinner's wins and controversies could shake up the rankings, and what Djokovic must achieve to reclaim his #1 spot before the end of the season. Stay tuned to find out how this dramatic story will unfold. Jannik Sinner is currently ranked #1 with 9,360 points. Djokovic is second with 7,460 points, followed by Carlos Alcaraz with 7,360 points. Sinner recently increased his points tally by defeating Frances Tiafoe in straight sets in the Cincinnati Open finals, securing his 5th title of the season.
Jannik Sinner is the Cincinnati champion.
The 23-year-old Italian, despite struggling with a hip problem, won the final 7-6, 7-4, 6-2 against American Tiafoe. After winning the first set in a tiebreak, top-seeded Sinner claimed his latest trophy in 1 hour and 37 minutes. It was a very difficult week, a tough week. I'm very happy about today's match, Sinner said. He is the youngest men's champion in Cincinnati since Britain's Andy Murray won the tournament in 2008 at the age of 21. Sinner added, "It was very tough mentally. I had such an amazing run here, and I tried to do my best today. We were both quite tired from the semifinals." Sinner began the year by winning his maiden Grand Slam title at the Australian Open in January. He followed this with victories in Rotterdam, Miami, and Halle. After his triumph in Ohio, Sinner is now focused on the US Open, but with an unexpected twist.
Jannik Sinner, the world's #1 ranked male tennis player, has escaped a ban after an independent tribunal.
Sinner has been cleared of wrongdoing despite testing positive twice, which has been kept under wraps since March.
The tennis world was stunned when the International Tennis Integrity Agency, ITIA, announced on August 20th, 2024, that Sinner tested positive for a banned substance during the Indian Wells Open in March. Sinner first failed a test on March 10th, and 8 days later, his second sample also tested positive. Although he was provisionally suspended after each positive test, he successfully appealed and was allowed to continue playing. Speculation has arisen among tennis journalists and Djokovic fans about whether Novak Djokovic could regain the #1 spot due to Jannik Sinner's failed drug test. Djokovic holds the record for 428 weeks at #1 in the ATP rankings. Although Sinner was cleared, the ITIA announced that his results, prize money and ranking points from the Indian Wells ATP Masters 1000 event, where he tested positive for clostebol, are disqualified. Sinner initially earned 400 points for reaching the Indian Wells semi-final, but those points were deducted on August 20th. Typically, points are subtracted retroactively, meaning Sinner would lose them in March, potentially affecting the ATP rankings. Sinner first rose to #1, 2 in the rankings after Indian Wells, surpassing Carlos Alcaraz and sitting just below Djokovic. If the points were retroactively deducted, Sinner would have dropped below Alcaraz until mid-April. Sinner later reached #1 after the French Open, maintaining his lead over Alcaraz even with a retroactive deduction. However, the critical point came during the week of August 12th.
That's amazing play.
When Sinner dropped 800 points after failing to defend his Canadian Open title. Had the retroactive deduction occurred, Sinner would have had 8,370 points instead of 8,770, potentially allowing Djokovic, who had 8,460 points last week, to reclaim the #1 spot. Instead, the ATP only reduced Sinner's tally by 400 points following his Cincinnati Open victory, leaving him with 9,360 points, while Djokovic remains at 7,460 after skipping the ATP Masters 1000 event. The ATP is yet to respond to a question by Ben Rothenberg about the issue, with the tennis journalist confirming on X, "I've asked ATP what will happen counting Sinner and Djokovic's weeks at #1, a metric ATP promotes quite a bit. Because if Sinner's 400 points from IW are retroactively subtracted, which would make sense, then Djokovic would have been #1 for 1 additional week, last week. The ATP could yet update their system and apply the points deduction retrospectively, giving Djokovic another week at number 1, which will take him to 429 weeks. On another note, to reclaim his world number 1 spot from Sinner, Novak Djokovic will need to win both the US Open and the ATP Finals. The Serbian has the opportunity to earn 2,000 points at the US Open and up to 1,500 more at the ATP Finals. Additionally, Djokovic would benefit if Sinner loses points in these tournaments. Last year, Sinner lost in the round of 16 at the US Open, and this year, he will aim to go deeper.
Jannik Sinner moves through to round.
If Sinner reaches the quarterfinals at the US Open, or improves on his runner-up finish at the ATP Finals, he could gain more points. Djokovic has not played since winning his maiden gold medal at the Paris Olympics earlier this month, his first title in what had been a challenging year.
In his 5th Olympic Games,
The legendary Serbian's lack of hard-court match play ahead of his US Open title defense is not ideal, but he may be in a stronger position mentally than his rivals. After claiming the only significant prize missing from his collection at the Olympics, Djokovic could be liberated as he chases his 25th Grand Slam title. As it stands, Novak Djokovic will need everything to go his way if he is to reclaim the world number 1 spot from Sinner. However, there is a possibility of this happening if Djokovic successfully defends both his US Open and ATP Finals titles in the coming weeks. With the US Open just around the corner, Djokovic gave fans a hilarious glimpse into his pre-tournament preparations. Despite being a tennis champion, it turns out he's just like the rest of us when it comes to last-minute packing. On TikTok, Djokovic shared his packing routine and joked about his tendency to overpack. "I'm one of those people who always takes more than he needs," Djokovic confessed, revealing he was packing late at night. "I don't seem very excited right now because it's 11 p.m. and of course the night before departure I still haven't finished packing. I live in suitcases, I live in bags. It's a sad story, not about the playing, but I'm just stating the obvious." In a humorous twist, Djokovic chose to pack in his children's room, explaining, "It's much neater and cleaner than my room and my wife's room at the moment. It's way too many bags, so I didn't want it to look that bad. Here at least it's quite easy." As he prepares to head to New York for the US Open,
he's ready to go.
Djokovic is also staying fit in an unexpected way, cycling. He's been spotted training alongside fellow cyclists and even challenged Tadej Pogačar, the 3-time Tour de France champion, in a playful Instagram post. "Back in training, setting new goals. Next stop, Tour de France. I'm coming for you," Djokovic joked.
How do you feel?
Pogačar. Tadej Pogačar wins Tour de France.